Hello and welcome to the Science and Dance podcast, episode number 8. This is the first in the essential series of Life as a Pro, and today I've invited Gina Scott of SemperOper in Dresden to come onto the podcast and talk about her life and experiences as a professional dancer and how she became a professional dancer. I'm really excited to start this series because I think amidst the crisis in the world right now, it's a great opportunity to reflect on where people have come from and how they've managed to get to the positions that they're in. And it offers a really nice insight into the professional world and little strategies and daily routines that professionals use to keep themselves going, keep themselves fit, keep themselves healthy, and for them to reflect upon their experiences and share some unique stories and moments in their career with us. And so I'm really grateful today to welcome Gina onto the podcast. Hi Gina, welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me here.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. It's good to start essentially what is episode 1 of Life as a Pro. But this is your first podcast as well, so we're kind of winging it from both ends here. I'm very much not interviewed on a podcast with any professionals really before, but I thought given the current climate and everybody being stuck inside and stuck at home, I thought this might be a good feature to kind of talk about the lifestyles of professional dancers. And we've had some communications in the past, so I thought, well, I'll start with you, ask you if you'd come on. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, it's good for everyone. We can all stay together.
Obviously, I know you're off, not dancing at the moment because the theatre's closed in Dresden. I kind of know already how that is for you, but as you say, is it a little bit frustrating right now? A little bit, lots of uncertainty.
I think it's just the fact that we don't know how long it's going to last for, and we're just kind of like taking it day by day. We just get the information that we like have another week off and then another week off. But yeah, so you just have to keep yourself motivated at home.
I think we're going to talk about that. I think it'll be really interesting for people when they hear this to know how a professional keeps herself going, fit, healthy, mobile, and motivated. Certainly at this period of time, but also in general. I'm going to try and not talk about the current climate too much and focus a little bit on your background and how you managed to become a professional dancer and what drives you to do that. So I guess it'd be best for you to take over a little bit and tell us how it came about that you started to dance in the first place. When was that? Where was that? And what was your progression through being a kid?
Well, basically, it started off with just my parents deciding to give me like weekend activities to do. So they took me along to the local dance school, which at the time was called Wendy Sharp and Sharon Potter School for Dance. And they took me there, and I went on the weekends, and I guess I kind of just loved it. And I kept going. And at some point, my ballet teacher was like, "Oh, Gina should audition for the Royal Ballet Associate classes." And at the time, my parents, they didn't have any idea about ballet or like what was involved. So they were just like, okay, like we'll do this. And there we are. So we did the audition photos, and like I went to the auditions, and then I was accepted to the Royal Ballet Associate classes for the JAs. And then I went to MAs also, like the Middle Associates. Yeah, and I carried on. And at the time I was also doing like jazz and tap, kept me motivated and
Awesome.
Busy as a child. Yeah, and then I guess just with time I decided, okay, I want to be a ballerina. Like I don't know where it came from. It just happened.
How old were you when that happened? How old, like what age are we talking here?
Well, I went to ballet like for fun, I guess, when I was like 3 years old.
Okay.
And then I went to junior associates, I think I was about 10. And then after that, I remember I went to ask my parents, like, can I go to ballet school? And I remember my mum saying to me, I think you're going to have to ask your dad. And I was like, okay. So there I go and ask my dad, and my dad's like, I think you're going to have to ask your mum about this. And I was like, I already did. So yeah, then of course they were like, they talked about it, and I went for my auditions, and I ended up going to Elmhurst School for Dance in Birmingham when I went there in year 9, so I was 13. And then yeah, I stayed there. I did like all my GCSEs, and living away from home for the first time, I was very excited. But then, of course, you leave, and then reality kicks in, and you're like, oh, I actually do miss home. But yeah, I obviously loved it. And then it got to the point where I was auditioning for upper schools, and I stayed at Elmhurst for the first year of upper school, and then I moved to London to go to the Royal Ballet School. So I did the last 2 years there. So I did second year there and third year there.
So and that was in continuity. So you did your third year. You were 19. I'm guessing, and that was pretty much it. Was it then trajectory into the professional world straight away?
Pretty much. I mean, I had a little bit of experience when I was in my graduate year to cover some stuff that the Royal Ballet were doing. So I'd already had a little bit of experience in that sense. So my eyes were open, should I say?
Was that a drastic opening of your eyes, or was that like quite comfortable? How would you describe that?
I mean, it was very exciting because you got to be on stage with all these like amazing dancers, which was like they were literally right across the road from us, or across the bridge, should I say. And it was very inspiring. But at the same time, it was also very scary because, you know, that's their world, and like we're entering it. And yeah, you also don't want to do anything wrong, even though I guess there isn't anything you can really do wrong, but you just feel like that.
Yeah, I understand.
So, but yeah, that was like the first eye opening. And then
what was that performance when you were still at school and you were covering the company? What were you dancing in?
It was Swan Lake, actually. Yeah.
Okay. That ideal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, so did you have to? What was the process after that? Did you have to do some auditions? How was your progression after your third year or during your third year?
Well, during my third year, we, of course, like we had to get all our audition photos done, which was actually organized through the Royal Ballet School, which was like amazing. So then you'd like kind of make a list for yourself of places that you'd like to go. Of course, at some point you can't be too fussy. You kind of just send your stuff everywhere. And yeah, I remember taking a flight to Dresden. I think there was a few of us that went that weekend, maybe like 3 or 4 of us. We all went together, and I did my audition there. And I remember they were like, they told us, I think we had to do the class, and then we had like a callback. And the callback was like a workshop. I think we did William Forsythe stuff, actually. And yeah, it was very exciting, very interesting. It was a bit overwhelming. I remember the room being so full that you couldn't really move, so you were kind of just squashed in there. But you know, I guess that's how it is. And then then after that they told us, oh, we'll get in contact with you. So you're waiting patiently. And yeah, and in the meantime, of course, I did other auditions because that's how it works.
Where else did you audition for? Just out of interest, I'm interested.
I auditioned for Vienna. I also auditioned for Dutch National. And then I did also, like, I went to Scottish Ballet and did some classes there. I also went to Birmingham Royal Ballet. Pardon?
The driver for you was very much, I want to do classical ballet. Was that always in your mind at that point?
Yeah, it was like that was definitely what I wanted to do. So it was like, that was my drive. Yeah.
So the companies on that list were very much a combination of companies that you thought that I can follow the classical ballet stream purely here?
Right. And of course, like being at the Royal Ballet School, like the director at the time, Monica Mason, she was observing as well. So, and like a lot of English companies would come to the school because we had that. So they, of course, seen us, but we also had to like adventure out and take other auditions because you just don't know at the time what contracts are available or who's interested in you. So you just have to keep your options open. So yeah, at the time I had like a lot of people were getting contracts at different times, so it was just a matter of waiting. And of course, like it's a bit nerve-wracking because you just don't know when you're going to get a contract or if you're going to get a contract.
Would you say were you a calm 18, 19 something at that point in time, or were you quite sort of on the edge of your seat wondering what was going to happen, or how would you describe that period of time for you?
Well, thinking back, it was quite a long time ago, but like thinking back, I would say I was quite calm, but at the same time, I wanted to know. Like I like to know things, so not knowing was keeping like myself and I guess others also kind of on edge in the sense that like, is it going to happen? What's going to happen? But because we were like in routine, we had class every day and we had like other classes as well. You were busy the whole day, so it wasn't like you were always thinking about it. It kind of was just like you were just kind of, it was when you got home in the evening, you were like waiting, do I have an email from someone? It was that kind of thing. But I think people got more nervous when the first person got their job, because like once you get one getting it, it's like the ball starts rolling.
It's an isolated incident. You know, individuals will get things at different times based upon where they went, who saw them. You know, so it's not always a case of, oh my God, that person's got something, but I haven't. You know, it's too individualized, isn't it?
Right. And like everyone's door opens at a different time. You just have to be patient, which is not always easy.
I like that analogy. That's good. So what was the? How long did it take for you to hear? You know, and then obviously you're at Dresden now, and that's where you've been, isn't it? So for that whole time, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where I've been the whole time. Yeah, I graduated in 2011, and I'm still there. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I joined in 2011 in when would it have been? In August. And actually I was quite surprised because in some companies I know it works that you have to kind of wait to get put into certain ballets because there's a lot of dancers there already. But actually we started, I think the first thing we started with was with Diamonds from Balanchine. So it was like the Jules program. And like I remember like I was put into Diamonds like straight away, and I was quite shocked because I didn't expect that. Like I wasn't used to that. So yeah, that was very exciting. And yeah, that was the first thing I did. And then that was my first season. Like we did a lot of classics in my first season actually, which was very exciting for me. And then in my second season,
the majority of you for like, was that corps de ballet stuff? Is that what the tier that you would describe yourself at that point? Is that where you went in at?
Yeah, I joined as a corps de ballet member, and so I did a lot of corps de ballet stuff. And actually, it was quite close to the end of the season. I jumped in for they had like a gala evening at the SemperOper, and I jumped in to do one of the solos. One of the Orderless solos, and yeah, and then after that, I guess that was kind of like how I really showed myself in some ways, because the next season we were doing Bayadere, and my name had been put down to learn Nakia, but I think just to kind of keep me busy. And yeah, it was amazing for me. I mean, it was my second year in the company, and there my name was there. And actually, of course, I'd been going to the rehearsals to learn some of the pas de deux, it was very inspiring to watch the dancers in the front. And then we had the stage call the day before the show. And I remember, one of the guys in the company, he came to me and he was like, Gina, you're gonna have to do the stage call. And I had a little panic inside. I was like, but like, I don't know any of the mise en scène, like I don't know any of the acting parts. And he was like, it's okay, like we all know, but like we need you to do the dancing parts. And I was like, okay. So 19-year-old Gina goes, and like, maybe I was 20 then actually, because it's my second season. And I go and prepare myself to do the stage call, and I do the stage call. And then the next, like that evening, they say to me, oh Gina, you're gonna have to do the show tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, okay. So there I was, like I didn't really have time to even panic or to like really realize what was happening. It was so exciting for me to think that, like, as a child, you're always like, you want to be a principal, you want to do all these principal roles, and it kind of just got given to me through luck, actually. Yeah, and I didn't really have time to worry or like stress about it, because it was happening the next morning, actually, because it was a matinee show. So that happened. And yeah, then actually at the end of the season, it came back again, because we did it twice in one season. And then they gave me shows. So I actually had like a proper preparation, which was really nice.
I mean, I find that quite inspiring, because, you know, I don't think there are many things that you can do. I mean, you can try and emulate a similar situation at school or whatever, but until somebody says to you, you're going to have to do this with minimal preparation time. I mean, that is the real deal. And I guess that story goes to show that that can happen. That really does happen. I think we talk about these stories all the time. Look, you know, if something happens, you're going to have to go on. We need people to know this. It could happen at any time. Be ready for that. And there you go. Happens to you, you know.
Yeah. I think they also didn't expect it either, because I was never called to any of the like mise en scène rehearsals. So because I had my own corps de ballet rehearsals to go to, so that's why like I didn't know it. So I remember that evening, like I had the DVD of like past shows in the past, like learning what I needed to do and just learning it fast, because the show was the next morning. But yeah, that was very inspiring. And of course, being really naive that year, I was like, I've had so much already, like why would I get anything else? And then I got promoted at the end of the season. And at the time I was so shocked, because I was like, I just did that. Like, why am I having this? But of course, now looking at it, like being in the company for a while, I mean, of course, other dancers were like, of course it was going to happen. And now I can understand why.
Yeah. I guess being that in those situations, you've either got to get in or get out. I mean, it's a like a fight or flight kind of instinct. You know, this opportunity's there, you've got to take it and do your best with it.
Right, yeah.
I would like to think that, you know, you get to a professional level, that most people do show that, like, to show some great colours in when they're asked to do that sort of thing, and it's for the greater good, really. Everybody wants to have a good show for everybody, and you do it for yourself to push yourself on, but at the same time, the show's the bigger deal, right? So, you know, you've got to step in, you've got to spend the extra hours watching the DVD, you've got to do that to make sure the show can happen.
Right. And also because you just want to calm yourself down a little bit. So in your mind, you're like, okay, I do kind of know what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's quite an inspiring story, even just for me. I mean, to fast forward a little bit to kind of where you're at now, has it been that similar kind of linear progression to being are you a soloist, but you have different categories of soloist, don't you? Or
yeah, I'm the second soloist now. So we have apprentices, then we have corps de ballet, we have corps fait, second soloist, which I am, first soloist, and then principal.
Awesome. So that's been a really like lovely progression for you, I guess, hasn't it, to this point? But do you have some principal responsibility as well? Because I've seen you do Aurora and things like that. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So is that just like typecasting scenarios, or is that things where you've had to step in as well?
I mean, my director, he generally likes to give people opportunities, which is a wonderful thing. So you get to I guess he's kind of testing you out. Like he puts you into roles which he thinks suit you, and it's a test for you. So yeah, I have done Aurora. I've done it a few times actually, and it's a beautiful ballet because I think it's one of those ones, especially if you are young, you kind of don't really need to like pretend too much because you are quite innocent and young. And of course, the older you get and or more experience you've had and you've done it in the past, then you can also look at it a different view, like which is also really interesting when you come back to ballets as well. Because if
So there's a bit of like development of the character within your time playing the character, being the character. Then that's an interesting concept.
exactly, because when you first do it, you don't really have an idea of like a lot of things. I mean, you do because you're training for it every day, and of course you can watch dances online now. So yeah, you can have ideas and stuff, but you're just new to it yourself, also doing a full length ballet. But it is very interesting when you come back to it because you also then have your own ideas and your own experiences that you can put into it as well, which is really nice.
So in terms of the current season, before we had the theatres had to close, where were you up to? What pieces, what repertoire did you have going on at the moment?
Well, actually, we were in the process of performing Four T's from George Balanchine, and I had my premiere dancing the third theme, which I was very excited about actually. Um, yeah, I mean the process every time you do something new is always a process. You also have new partners, you have to get to know each other, but it's a massive learning curve. And also, um, yeah, so we had this, and it was supposed to be performed like I think my premiere was it might have been it was the 16th. It was supposed to be the 16th. Um 16th of March, yeah. And but so we were preparing for that, and then the whole time we were kind of on edge of like, is this actually happening? Isn't it not? Is it happening? Is it not? And yeah, there we go. It didn't happen, which is very unfortunate, but you learn a lot from processes anyway, even if you don't get to dance them, but it is a little bit of a shame. But never mind. And at the same time, we'd started to prepare for Carmen as well. But that like these things are past now. So the next thing would be the next thing that I'm involved in would be Don Q, which is from Aaron Watkin, my director. So hopefully, I don't know if this thing passes, we'll be back to do that. And then at the end of the season, we have a premiere, and I'm involved in David Dawson's new creation, which he's actually already created, which is great. We just have to like do some cleaning on it. So hopefully we'll actually get to do these things.
So just to talk, I mean, you talked. It kind of leads me on to my next question, which is like there's a huge amount of story there in terms of how your progression right through the company. It's really interesting you talk about like different ballets and bringing something different to each one, and going from perhaps something that is unique to Semper, like Aaron Watkins' work, and then looking between Balanchine, David Dawson, all of that in one pot. How difficult do you find it as a dancer, or how challenging do you find it as a dancer, switching between styles? Is that something that you feel you have to prepare for carefully?
I mean, I think in those situations, you just have to listen to your body. Of course, like we're not machines, so your body is going to talk to you and you will feel little niggles here and there, but you have to listen to your body and understand what they're trying to tell you. So yeah, if you are starting to feel something that doesn't feel so right, like go to the physio. Like it could be nothing, but you'll actually go in there to prevent it from getting worse, or they can also tell you and help you on what you need to do more of, because like changing from things, maybe you're in point shoes sometimes, maybe you're in flat shoes, you might even be in bare feet, which is all new and different for everyone, and everyone has their process.
So as a dancer, do you really notice the change in style? Does it, or is it, or do you just so into it, or does it just all happen so fast for you that you haven't got time to think about what you might be premiering versus or doing that night versus what you're rehearsing during the day. You know, is it just something that is part and parcel of what you do?
I mean, I think when you're like busy doing lots of different things at the same time, you kind of just go through it. You know it's happening, of course, but you just get on with it because you're so busy. But when you're maybe not as busy and you're like going from one thing for a period of time, for example, we did Pina Bausch, which I was like so grateful to be involved in, and that was bare feet for me, so that was really new. Like I'd never done that before, and we did that for a really long period of time because it was a premiere, and then right after that we went into Nutcracker. So that was a big change because it's so different. But for myself during that time, I was doing a lot of Pilates and keeping myself going because I knew that I had Nutcracker coming up. So I knew that I had to put my pointe shoes back on and like be in shape to do ballet. But at the same time, it's if you know these things, you can also prepare yourself and have it in mind. But you also have to like enjoy the time that you're in as well. Like you don't want to be fast forwarding too much.
A good point. So being proactive, but also focusing on the task in hand, you know, is a balance between the two.
Yeah.
That's it's an interesting concept. Now, to think about like those particular ballets where you're very heavily involved, in terms of your like daily preparation or how you prepare just before you're about to go on to, let's say, do Aurora. What's your kind of personality? What's your character trait in terms of, you like one of these dancers that gets absolutely psyched and in the zone and hyper, or are you a more calm, laid back, methodical type dancer when it comes to preparation for performance?
I would say that I'm quite calm. I like to kind of do things on my own. So like if we had a day for a performance, for example, if it was an evening performance, we'd have class in the morning for sure. I'd come to class. We'd probably have some rehearsals. Like if it was for Aurora, for example, I would have rehearsals after class for Aurora. So it would be if I want to go over anything, if I want to try anything, like listen to the music or anything like that. For me and my partner, we would decide what we wanted to do with the ballet master, and then we'd have a break between the show. So I would obviously I might have a little nap in the day, or if I need to go to the physio for anything, I will. Or if there's pointe shoes that I need to sort out, maybe there's some like alterations that I need to make. I'll have something to eat, and then actually we have our makeup and hair done for us, so we have to come back at a certain time.
What a luxury!
I know.
I've seen some people from the companies from Semper's like time lapse videos.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm going to try and share some of them because they are awesome. Or if you've got any I can post, they are really cool. And I think it was, were you doing Dream? Were you doing Midsummer Night's Dream or something like that?
We did that last season.
Did that last season. So I remember seeing like a time lapse of one particular costume or headpiece that was like really intricate. I think that was what it was for. It was fascinating.
Okay. Yeah, I have one of when I did the Snow Queen actually, and that's really interesting because like I get painted white.
Okay. Yeah, I think people need to see this. They need to appreciate it, and I think people already appreciate it, but seeing all the component parts like go together for intricate headdresses and makeup is really interesting. It's something often taken for granted if you just watch the show.
Right, because you don't actually know what goes into it, and it takes time.
So if you've got hair and makeup to get into, you've got to warm up, and let's say your show's at 7 o'clock, 7:30 in the evening.
Yeah.
How long are you warming up for? Are you warming up prior to getting in hair and makeup, or is it done first? Like, what's the order of events leading up in that kind of like from call time where you've got to be at the theatre to the performance time? What's the kind of, what happens in that time?
Well, I think everybody kind of has their own routine. We usually have, if there's a performance around 7:30. We have class, I'd say, it would be around 6 class would be. And you don't have to take class. It would be a half an hour warm-up bar, should I say. But for me, myself, I would pick an early makeup time so that I have my hair and makeup done first. And I actually tend to do my own bar. Like, I do my own exercises that I feel that I need, and then I do my own bar, so that I kind of have my own routine and I have the time to do what I need to do. But everyone's different. Some people prefer to warm up first and then get their hair and makeup done. It also just depends on when you can fit in as well.
Interesting. So then kind of leading up to, you're saying you're quite calm, you kind of like to do things kind of in your own time by yourself. Is that always been the case, or have you found out that works for you over time?
No, I think it's kind of always been the case. I mean, I'm happy for people to be around and I'm happy to talk to people. That's not a problem for me. But I tend to just get on with things and do them by myself, to be fair. But it also depends on what the other people are doing as well, what other moods everybody else is in. Because if there's something going on and everyone's chatting, of course I would join in. But if not, then I'm also just gonna like get on with my thing.
There's a sense of normality. There's a sense of camaraderie, normality, like team environment. Then it's not just individualized completely, which is nice, I guess. It's important. You guys work together all the time, don't you?
Right. So and actually here, like, everyone is really pleasant and we all talk to each other and we get along really well. Like, it is quite an open, like, relationship that we have with everyone. Everyone's like very nice to each other and like helps each other when necessary. So yeah, it's friendly.
So to kind of think back over the last period of time since 2011, have there been times where you thought about what drives you as a dancer? Because obviously a huge, for the people listening here, especially younger dancers, they are completely in the same position as you were as a teenager, desperate to, and will do anything and work so hard to gain a contract in any form of dancing that they choose. But then the motivation changes once you're in a company. Has your motivation always been what drives you've always been quite consistent because you love the art form and you love the experience? Or is there other things at times where you've been less motivated, more motivated by certain things? How does that work for you?
I mean, I think when you come straight from school, you're so busy and you're all in the same boat of like trying to get a job, and it's all very exciting because it's the unknown. And in my experience, when I first came to the company, I was very busy because we had a lot of classical works. So it was like I was always busy and doing things. But then, of course, it comes to a point where the repertoire changes slightly and maybe you're not as busy. And in the beginning, that's a shock because you're so used to having classes at school and then going to the company and being busy. And when you do have this kind of break or this quiet time, you do feel a little bit lost, or I did. And I was kind of like, what's happening in this situation? What do I do with myself? But you learn as you go. I don't say it's easy, but you just kind of find a way for yourself. You also find other things that you like doing. But then also, like, it gives you time to be like, oh, okay, like there's also a life outside of ballet. Like, you can go and adventure and do things, or like find other things that you like to do. And that's also very important, I think, because I think life experience also helps you as a dancer. And it's maybe hard for younger people to understand that, but I think you learn it as you go.
Okay, so that's, I mean, it sounds like when you say that, it sounds like that very much happened to you. If you don't mind me saying.
I talk about it in my own experience. Like, there's been times where like you're not as busy in the sense because repertoire changes and maybe you're not involved, or maybe you are, but you're just covering, or I don't know, different things. But you also, yeah, it's a time for you to just learn. You also learn a lot about yourself, and yeah, it also, because you're not as busy, you can also like observe other dancers because you have time to.
So what in terms of a life outside of dance, for you, what is that? What do you enjoy doing that keeps you? I wouldn't say sane, but sort of. I mean, everybody talks about, if you're so ensconced and obsessive about your job, then often you can miss enjoying other aspects of life. So, for example, for you, what do you enjoy doing with your free time? How do you try and spend that?
Well, I would say that like I like to hang out with my friends. I love to go to coffee shops, or even go to the cinema, like little things. Or I like to go hiking. We have a really beautiful place called Saxon, Switzerland here, which is that it's like you go hiking basically, and of course there's different routes, so you don't have to go too hard. But yeah, and it's just realizing that like there are other things to do. Or like I love to bake. I love to create things. I also like doing scrapbooks and things like this, or even just watching Netflix, or I don't know, calling my family. Like simple things which you can do, but it's like you can put more effort into them because you have the time to. And also just meeting people outside. And I find it really interesting to talk to people who are not in the ballet world or not in the dance world, because they they do so many other things that you just don't know about maybe. And they don't know about you, so when they ask questions it kind of makes you think, oh, like I never thought about it in that way, because they have like a different perspective of things, which is I find really interesting.
Well, it's important, isn't it? I think I very much try and help people to, for example, take an appreciation for other things, and resting is a massive part of what I try and promote. I do believe dancers, not just ballet dancers, drive themselves very hard, and the culture is changing, has changed over the last number of decades to be, maybe we don't need to spend as much time just flogging ourselves, and maybe we do need to rest, recuperate, and train in a different way. But part of that rest and recuperation is having other experiences that enhance your professionalism as well.
Right.
So, drawing on other experiences and bringing them back to dance is something I believe firmly in as well.
Yeah. And also it's kind of like, just because you do maybe have a little bit of free time, it doesn't mean you can't, you have to like sit at home and do nothing. No, you can find other things. You can be active. Like you can, I don't know, I also love to do Pilates. And so you can invest time in doing things that are also beneficial to your work, but you're doing it in a different way.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, as you say, experiencing things amongst other people as well, and having Pilates that's perhaps led by someone else that you don't have to think of for yourself, or going hiking where it's activity, but it's stimulating in a different way because it's not what you normally do.
Right.
Is a great use. Obviously, everybody would love to go hiking right now. We have some beautiful weather here, but people are very much confined to their houses. So,
Right. So right now everyone's like, we're all working as a team. There's people putting live streams on Instagram where you can follow along, so you don't feel like you're on your own, which is really
well,
nice.
it's really awesome. I mean, actually, we haven't had any more formalized information here, but the other day, all the national parks here, all the National Trust sites have been open for free, apart from obviously the houses. So I think they are very much encouraging people to get out and experience a bit of nature, especially in the season that we're in. I mean, I've only been to Dresden when it was October, so it was kind of autumnal, which I thought was a really nice time for me to go. It was it was getting colder, but at the same time, you've got some very nice. I mean, it's a beautiful city where you are.
It really is, yeah.
I mean, I can't even. I would try and describe it through the screen here or on podcast, but it's better if you do that. What's Dresden like as a place?
I think it's a very quiet place, I would say. But once you know where things are happening, there's actually a lot going on. You just need to know about it.
How's your German?
But like, yeah, I mean, during the winter time, I mean, a lot of people tend to stay at home or like go to coffee shops or I don't know. So it's like it seems very quiet, but it's very beautiful. Um, but then in the summertime, when the sun comes out, like there's so many people everywhere. You're like, where have these been all winter? Um, and a lot of people, they go to the park, they sit with their friends, and it's really nice and friendly.
I mean, it's beautiful. I'm just picturing like in my mind the where the theatre is, and I think it is one of the the grandest theatres and spaces you can imagine, because it's not overlooked by huge offices or other buildings like that, is it? It's
Right.
set
It's
in a
it's it's on Theatre Platz, so it has its own little square, and yeah. And
how I was just saying, how's your German?
my German, I wouldn't say it's the best, but I would say that I can get by.
Awesome.
If I have a problem or if I really need to speak German, I can say what I need to say. But after being here for this long now, I would like it to be better. But it's one of those things, I think, because we don't speak it every day, because we speak English in the theatre, it's it's something that I have to do in my own time, which I do try and do. I have had classes and lessons, but it's a matter of using it every single day. Yeah. So yeah, I would like it to be better, but it's a matter of like using it every day, and we don't. So it's just a process, I think.
So my next kind of line of questioning were a couple of ones that were people have suggested that I ask, and you haven't you might have touched on them already, but I think we've talked about past experiences and how you've grown as a dancer and kind of learned and different roles. But for example, if you could give advice to 16, 17-year-old Gina, what might that look like? If you had the same head that you had now on younger shoulders?
To not worry as much, actually, or not to overthink things too much. That's easier said than done because I still do it a little bit, but sometimes things are like not in your control, and you just have to find a way for yourself that works for you in any situation. If things aren't going maybe the way you want them to, or you don't understand the way things are going, like sometimes it's not even about you as a person, it's maybe the other person, like maybe it's to do with them, it's I think to just not overthink things too much, because it's not really you're the only one that's kind of like worrying yourself in a way. And also that it's like it's okay to be really busy and like feeling really tired. Actually, I kind of love that feeling, to be fair. But
I,
that's
I completely agree. I mean, we've obviously, I think that's so interesting you said that, because I was talking to some dancers that are at college the other day, and we've had to close, and they're really sad about that. And at the same time, in the same breath, a lot of them tell me how tired they are, but they would not change what they're doing for the world. Do you know what I'm saying?
right.
So, they love the feeling of what they're doing, and that is part and parcel of what they love about it. They love being that busy, and I think when they stop being that busy, suddenly there's that appreciation for it.
Right, because it's something that you're so used to doing when you're really busy and you're really tired and your body's like feeling good, in the sense like it's really in shape. You have a lot of motivation then also, because you're on a roll, so you keep going and it's a nice feeling. But of course at the same time, because you are so busy, you do feel tired. But once that moment's over, you miss it, because it's I don't know, it's kind of what you strive for. Like, I don't know, when you go on stage and you have that adrenaline rush, it's so satisfying that it's like, oh, I want that again. So when you do have downtime, of course it's nice sometimes, but when it happens for a long period of time, like you miss the active side of it.
So, are you? I mean, are you missing dancing at the moment? Are you missing doing what you do every day? Would you, or are you great? Are you grateful for at the same time for a little bit of reflection time, or are you eager to get back into the swing of things? Like,
I mean, the first few days it was okay, like it was rest days in a way. But now that it keeps going and the time keeps getting longer, I want to get active. I want to do things. So I'm like doing a Pilates in the morning. I'm taking class on my kitchen counter. Um, you know, because I want to keep moving. Like it also motivates me to start my day and do things. So yeah, I am eager to get back to the studio and like get back into my routine because I like my routine. But at the same time, because I can't right now, there are other things I'm doing. So things like paperwork, which I don't particularly enjoy doing. I'm kind of like, I have to do this now because if I don't, I'm kind of wasting the time. Yeah, but I'm also like talking a lot with my family and my sister, she's actually studying sports science at university in London. So we have a lot of conversations which like we can understand each other. That's nice.
I mean, I think it's becoming a hot topic, but I think the aspects of keeping people interested and motivated was one of the reasons that I wanted to do this kind of life as a pro kind of podcast. But you talked about, let's go back a second, because you talked about baking, and we've talked before, and that is it's a passion of mine, but I'm more in the field of appreciation of baked goods.
Yeah.
So won't
Okay.
necessarily take advantage of the baking that other people do, and that's very selfish of me. But at the same time, I always appreciate it. A friend of mine gave me something the other day, which was a banana bread with chocolate and walnut in it, but no sugar. I was quite impressed by that. I was amazed as to
It's like
how.
the option.
Oh, it was a hugely healthy option, and with the amount that I eat, that's probably a good idea. But what are the kind of things that is baking therapeutic for you? Is it you'd say you like to go for coffee? Like I am definitely a coffee lover. Um, do you find baking quite therapeutic, or is it an excuse to go and have, when you go and have a coffee? Is that like some quiet time? Like what your feelings towards that?
Well, when I bake myself, it's just because I just generally love doing it, and I also like eating it. So, yeah, I mean, it also keeps me busy, and because it keeps me busy, and I actually like doing it, and I can also experiment with it. Like, I don't think you can really go wrong with baking. It might not look so nice always, but it's always going to taste good, you know.
Promise you can go wrong. That's just me speaking, but I
You
promise you.
can, maybe you can go wrong, but I mean, wrong in the sense that like you might not want to give it to someone because it might not look very nice, but
So, I mean, in terms of like when you're preparing yourself, and we talked a little bit about this earlier. This is kind of backtracking a little bit. I mentioned it. I've seen you prepare for things by jumping on the bike. I've seen you quite active on the spinning bike and things like that. And obviously, you look after yourself in a variety of ways. But is that something you choose to buy into for yourself because you want to benefit yourself, or is that very much like is it provided for you? How do you work around keeping yourself fit, healthy, nourished in the right way?
I mean, we have physios at the SemperOper, so like you organize it by yourself. Like you look at your own schedule. They have a little book downstairs, and you put your name there when it works for you. So I go to them, of course, if I do have a niggle, or even if I don't, just to kind of keep on top of things for myself. Like because you get to know your body and you understand it. Um, And on the fitness side, like, yeah, I use the spinny bike. I like to do that for cardio. It keeps me moving, keeps me going. If I have hard ballets coming up, or even not, even if I just want to keep myself moving. Um, but in the sense of like other things like body conditioning or Pilates, like that's something that I invest in out of my own pocket. We do that because we don't have that at the theater. So if you want to do extra stuff, it's something that you do yourself. I also have a gym membership, which I use, but I kind of use it more for the sauna. I like to go to the sauna. So yeah, I try to take care of things myself, but I also just do things that I like doing. Like I don't want to go and do something that I don't want to do because then it's not good because then I don't really want to do it. And I'm
Yeah.
probably not going to do it very well. So I try to do things that I'm interested in.
Yeah, the buy-in is so important. Dancers spend the times being so active. Often it can seem like a bit of I don't want to say a chore, but like an over-egged necessity to, you know, train more and cross training and being fit to dance. And I've heard it all. It's like the buzzword. It's basically what I do, but at the same time that you have got to be stimulated and enjoy what it is you're doing. I think that's super important because you are active so much. To kind of again fast forward in the future, all things being equal, what do you kind of aspire to? What's next for you? Is it just a continuation of trying to keep progressing yourself as a dancer, or do you in 10 years time, where do you kind of see yourself?
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm one of those people that has like a plan B. Of course, I have ideas in my head that like things that I enjoy and that I like doing, but I feel like I'm one of those people that it's like I'm in it in the moment and I want to enjoy it for what it is. Like, I don't want to think too far forward because then I feel like I'm not concentrated on what I'm doing. Um, but like as of now, I kind of just like I'm eager to dance more. I'm eager to like have more experience and also to learn from other people as well. I think that's really important because everyone's at a different stage in their life and you can learn so much from other people. So, yeah, I mean, I just kind of like I think I'm second soloist and I kind of want to enjoy a lot of the things that I'm getting now, but I am hungry to learn other things and from other people. So I guess it's just a matter of like time will tell and I'll just kind of see what happens as I go. Of course I have goals and I have things that I would like and ideas, but you sometimes these things are not really in your control. Like you kind of I don't want to say you have to wait. You do have to like push yourself and put yourself out there, but you do kind of just have to like see what happens.
So on that, in the same breath, what if it's, for example, not in inverted commas Gina's day for whatever reason?
Yeah.
Everybody kind of. What's your way of dealing with that? Because some people are. I have two kind of stereotypes in mind about this that I often portray to people. You've got some people over here that will pummel themselves with the thing that they couldn't get right until it's right, and you have the people on this side over here that would like to step away from something and then go back to it with a clearer mind or a fresher mind. What's your way of dealing with things that perhaps are a little bit testing?
Well, in the moment, I would probably keep going until I can get it right because it will frustrate me that it's not working. Um, but of course, it comes to a point where you're like, okay, enough is enough. Like, I have done this like so many times. And I think it's easier that I come back to it tomorrow with a fresh mind. So it depends on the situation. I mean, I'm not going to give up in that moment. I will keep going. But yeah, you also don't want to get stuck on it too much because that will make you a little bit crazy, I think.
And it's you kind of spanned both there a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
And let's be frank. Do you how often do you have days like that? Is that normal to you? Do you just accept it for what it is, or are you one of the lucky few?
No, I think I have days like that. I mean, we don't always wake up on the right side of the bed, you know. We do have bad days sometimes. And yeah, I mean, because you have to still get on with your day. Okay, it might not be the best day. You might be like, well, tomorrow's going to be a new day, but you still have to get on with that day because you have work to do. And also you have other people around you. You don't really want to like bring them down with you. So it's better that you just get on with it.
You have that sense of kind of group responsibility to keep the room lifted, kind of thing. Like I know that's probably you're paid to do this, so that's expected of you. But do you feel that energy around you? Could you kind of feel uplifted or like you are uplifting? Is that how you would describe it, or is it not as complex as that?
I mean, people that I'm close to, if like they'd probably know if I'm having a bad day. And also if I'm having a bad day, like I will also say, oh, I'm not having such a good day today, but I think it's one of those things you do have to get on with it. So you just have to find a way that's gonna like you just get on with things. And also, not everyone's having a bad day when you're having a bad day. So other people will be smiling and laughing and having fun. So you kind of just have to get yourself out of it and join in with them as well. Because actually, things aren't really that bad. If it doesn't work, it's okay. Like, it might be annoying, but you can come and fix it tomorrow. You just don't give up. That's it.
That's a pretty good, pretty strong, solid response to that. Well, I mean, Gina, we've talked for the best part of an hour now, and I didn't think we didn't think that it was going to be that long. You seem a bit shocked by that, but this has been awesome. I think we've to take the podcast away from just the topics of sports science or dance science has been really, really interesting. And obviously, most of the time when I speak to people online or I speak to people in person, we're talking about the lifestyle of a dancer and where strength and conditioning or sports science, whatever, or Pilates fits into that. And so I think this has been really wholesome as the first one in this series to reflect upon all your time so far as a professional. Giving advice to your former self is always hard. But a sense of like appreciation for other things in life has definitely been a theme throughout this podcast today. So I'm just going to say like massive thank you for agreeing to do this. It's been awesome. Like I've just enjoyed listening to it. So it's great.
Of course, and thank you for having me. And I hope everybody else who's listening can learn something as well.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure, and people might even have questions for you, or want to maybe not questions. They might want to follow up us to put maybe even continue to put a face to a name and follow your journey as being a second soloist and beyond. So you've got an Instagram handle? I'll let you say it because I don't want to get it wrong.
Okay, so yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Gina_the_ballerina. And yeah, if you have any questions or you just want to know things, like feel free to message me. I'd be happy to answer.
Personally, I asked you this, like, I like your Instagram because it does, it shows a variety of things in terms of like, it's very honest about like your ballet. There's lots of nice things on there, whether it's you practicing or doing certain roles in the studio, and then also having coffee. There's lots of family stuff on there, which is, you've got an open profile. So like, it's really rounded in terms of everything that you've talked about is actually there in black and white. It's very true for people to put that into context for them.
Yeah, I mean, my Instagram is it is me. So what you see on there is like things that I like. It's not just ballet. It's like everything that I like to do or get involved with.
I mean, that is great, and is that the best place for people to find you is Instagram? Is that right?
I would say so, yeah. And then we'll take it from there. Like once they contact me, if they want to.
I even think at this time when people are stuck indoors, I'm even going to recommend to people that they get in touch with you for baking recipes, because it sounds like you have some experimental ideas and some things. I know plenty of dancers that like to bake, so maybe that's a line of attack for people to get in and keep everybody busy. Well, Gina, thanks very much, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and thank you too.